to Caldwell County Today. I'm Paige Counts, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County. Joining me today is Keith Smith. Keith is purveyor of all things theatrical and musical.
Not of all things, but I do a lot with both, so I appreciate that.
You do a lot with both.
Yeah.
But today we're here to talk about two concerts. We'll start with the Men's Chorus Spring Concert. It's that time again.
It is that time. It's we keep saying it all through life. Every year, time seems to go faster. It seems like it should maybe be February or March, but here it is, late April, and we have our Caldwell Men's Spring Concert. We usually have it in April, but due to people's schedules, we're having it now as we used to in early May. So it's May the 10th, Saturday night, May the 10th at 7:30 at Lenoir Presbyterian Church, which is always so gracious to host us both for our rehearsals and our performances, and we sing in turn for them a couple of Sundays a year for their church services. And I always joke the first 400 people get in free.
They do.
The second 400 get in free too, but we'll be turning them away because we can't fit that many.
They would have to bring lawn chairs and sit in the parking
outside.
lot.
That's right. It is a free concert, and we do take donations, but we want anyone to feel free to come. And I had one member years ago when we first started going to this free concert and let people donate. He said, "But if we don't charge tickets, they won't think it's any good." I said, "Well, if they'll come one time and listen, they'll see that it's good apart from whatever price they pay." So we want to make it accessible to everyone. And we serve all of Caldwell County and the whole Unifor area, and I always say we're the best kept musical secret in western North Carolina. But we do work primarily out of Lenoir, here in Lenoir. And of course go through the church, Lenoir Presbyterian, which is just up the hill, and from the studio. But we look forward to it every year. And our men, I think, consistently get better and stronger musically and artistically every performance. And we kick it off with the national anthem. And due to the insistence of one of our singers, who now can't be there because his daughter's pregnant and he's going out to Houston, Texas, to see her during the concert, we decided to do two verses of the national anthem. So
I wonder how many people know that there are two verses.
There are actually four verses.
Actually four.
But we're doing the first and fourth. And of course, Francis Scott Key wrote this, but it's based on an old tune from before then. But everybody knows about Fort McHenry, and that's why he wrote it. But there's another verse, well, three more verses, but we're doing one of them. And so we ask people if they do applaud, which we assume they will, to hold their applause. We would never do a second verse at like a ball game. You couldn't get people to stay for that. But they're kind of at our mercy, being in our free concert, so they'll have to listen to those two verses. And I think they'll enjoy them. And we actually are printing the words of the second verse in the program. So
that's very fascinating. See, I've learned something new. Every time I sit with Keith, I learn something new. So there we have it. What else?
Well, we continue with a song called "In Flanders Fields." It's based on a poem that was written by the Reverend John McCrae from Canada, who was a World War I. He was a medical doctor, but he went in just to volunteer for an infantry unit where he was actually in combat, even though he was their medic, and he was in his 40s at the time. And he had a friend that was killed in one of the big engagements in France during the First World War. And he wrote this song, "In Flanders Fields Where Poppies Grow," and it was the most popular poem in Europe for a while, and was very popular in the United States too, and just really caught on with service people. And unfortunately, Dr. McCrae, passed away before the end of the war, was killed before the end of the war. But that song has been set, or that poem has been set to music by several people over the years, and this is a lady named Earlene Rentz who did this arrangement. It's a very, very poignant and solemn yet hopeful arrangement of the song, told from the perspective of the dead. We did a concert one time with Greg Knight, and every song, it wasn't all patriotic, it was like every song. Greg said one night at rehearsal, "Do you realize that every song's about death?" And I said, "No, I didn't, but now I do." But every song is not about death.
Not about death this time.
No, we continue with a piece called a Patriotic medley. Is it medley? No, it's a patriotic medley, and it's got several well-known patriotic songs in it, including music from all the branches of the service. This is dedicated to veterans and to current servicemen and women, and we honor them with this concert, and it's getting close to Memorial Day at that time. And we want to recognize them, and one little snippet of things that we're doing, and I've done this when we did this piece before years ago, haven't done it in a while, but when your branch of the service, if you're like in the Army or were in the Army in the Korean War, whenever you were in the Army, when over, you stand up during that portion, and then the Air Force and all the branches of the service. So that should be nice. And this concert, I'll take a moment to say it's in honor of the service men and women, both current and past, and we hope to have a great turnout of that to honor them. And I think they'll appreciate what they hear. But we're also recognizing Sherry January, who is our usual accompanist, but she broke her wrist this year planning for Mr. Cogdell's concert one wintry, icy day back in January, but we'll get to that in a little bit, that concert. But we're joined now by Bernadette Watts, who just retired as the choral director from South Caldwell and was at Wilkes in Wilkes County at Alexander for many years. But we're blessed to have her, so she's accompanying us. But we're honoring Sherry and recognizing her. And we're recognizing, this has nothing to do with that military theme of death, the death, the people, dead people stuff. The antique store.
Okay.
They just, and I'll tell you why. They just moved from Lenoir to Hudson and are doing very well in Hudson. But he's a wheeler and a dealer, and he offered me. He knew we sang in tuxedos. He had bought out a tuxedo store. He gave us tens of thousands of dollars of formal wear.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's hanging in our closet now for new members if they come in. Shirts, shoes, ties and cummerbunds, accessories, cufflinks and studs, but mainly coats and pants. And so 5 of our guys took advantage of that coming in, so we want to pay tribute to him. So we appreciate that offer of him giving us that.
That is a wonderful thing.
It's definitely, if you added it at retail prices, it would be around $10,000 worth of stuff. So we're very thankful to him for that donation. So we'll just recognize them. They don't have to pay to get into the concert, but neither do you. So we'll recognize Sherry and Dead People Stuff. A very unique name, but it gets your attention.
It is a unique name, but yes, it does. And I think, side note, it's an appropriate name.
Well, it is, because a lot of times that's what it is. Yeah, and they got it out front of their building. You can't miss the big 25-foot tall skeleton that's standing out there. And in the winter, he has a Santa cap on. In the spring, you'll have some spring accoutrement. So it's all fun and good. But going on with the concert, we do a piece called "We Are Not Enemies," and it was written by Professor William Harbison, who was a professor at Appalachian State University. And we'd done this piece and some other of his works before with our group several years ago, and even brought the Appalachian Glee Club down to sing with us. But this piece is quoting Lincoln. It quotes Abraham Lincoln from his second inaugural address, the one where he says, with malice toward none, with charity toward all. It doesn't say that in the piece, but it quotes from that same inaugural speech, and it's very hopeful. We're not enemies, we must be friends. And then we go on with another. One's a patriotic medley, one is a patriotic salute, and this other piece, you'll recognize all of the songs in these. I mean, they're all well-known, tried and true. Yankee Doodle Dandy, and
I was going to ask if you were going to sing
America the Beautiful. Sorry, and just when Johnny Comes Marching Home, and I could just go on piece like My Country 'Tis of Thee, God Bless America. It continues.
Okay, for my musical knowledge, what's the difference between a melody and a salute?
A medley and a salute. Well, a salute just means you're paying tribute to it, but it is a medley. This salute is because it's got 3 pieces it salutes with, while a medley, it just means it's more than one, a combination of songs blending into each other. And that's interesting because we're coming off of Easter, and someone asked me Sunday, said, what's the difference in a disciple and an apostle? And that's an interesting question, so I looked it up. And a disciple is anyone who serves someone or something, or has a mantra for something. And an apostle is someone who believes but is sent out to proclaim. So all apostles are disciples, but not all disciples are apostles. Just like I told a lady today, our parcel number for Hudson, Texas is 03 if you live in Hudson, your parcel number begins with 03, but you can live outside of Hudson and have an 03 too. So I told this once. She said, but it's an 03. I said, yeah, but all flounder are fish, but not all fish are flounders. It's that same kind of thing. So anyway, getting back on track, we conclude the first half of our program with America the Beautiful, and this is one of the most beautiful and most challenging renditions you'll ever see. It's very demanding, accompaniment-wise, harmony-wise. It divides into many immense parts. We've done it, but not for several years. But it's we're working very hard to really get that to the level I want to see it become. And then the second half of the concert is something we've looked at for several years. Cheryl German has wanted to do this piece for years. When I was at Hudson with Mr. Cogdell, who we'll talk about, Cheryl German came in and was a student teacher, and then later he became a band and choral teacher himself in the county, but I think he came in when I was there for a while. And we back at that time with Mr. Cogdell, and then with a group of several schools from the area, and then in college, and then with Hickory Choral Society, and I've done this piece a few times. It's called A Testament of Freedom. And it was written by Randall Thompson, the composer, in 1943 for the 200th birthday of Thomas Jefferson, who was born in 1743. And there are 4 movements, and all of the pieces, the words, or just as the one piece had Lincoln's quotation, this quotes Jefferson. And the God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time. That's the big theme of it. But Cheryl's been wanting to do that again for years, and we've had that music in the file cabinet since I've been at Men's Chorus, and these are pieces they bought years ago, like 40 copies of it, and a nice book form. And so I said, we're going to do that to honor you, Cheryl, and sometimes I wish we hadn't been off as much as we did, but we're going to be fine. It's going to be a very touching and inspiring piece, and that's all of Act 2. Or the second half, not an act really, but the second half of the concert. And I think people will truly enjoy it. There's something for everyone. It is all patriotic, but it's still a diverse set of styles with marching music and spiritual music and rousing fun music like Yankee Doodle Dandy. And so it'll be fun to recognize all the servicemen as well. And I'm looking for this to be one of our biggest concerts.
It sounds like it very well could be, but let's talk about who's singing.
Okay. We have 21 singers for this. Our first tenors are Doug McCowan and Glenn Neal and John Duncan, and a new gentleman in our group who I adore him. He's wonderful. His name is Michael Jennings. He's the choir director, the music director at First Baptist Church here in Lenoir. Very talented, very nice man, very good director. We're fortunate to have him, but he came in. Fortunate to have all those guys. Mr. Cogdell, again, who we're talking about throughout, said that we have the best first tenors in the state of North Carolina. And one night they hit a sour note this few weeks ago, and I said, I don't think you're the best in Caldwell County tonight, but I have to kid, but they're wonderful. And then on second tenor, we have Ken Twing, who does a lot of theater with me as well, but he's the one that's going to his daughter's shower that weekend in Houston, Texas, so he'll be missing. But we have Bill Hall and Dwayne Mazingo and Cheryl German and Reggie Green. Then our baritones and our guys range in age from like 22 up to 85, Mr. Cogdell being the 85. And our baritones, we have 6 baritones, Alan Norad, you know who he is, and Mr. Cogdell. And Duncan Meeks, who's one of the Duncan boys, but his mother was a Duncan, and he's Duncan Meeks. We talked about that before. And Kyle Canterday, who's another wonderful choral director, pastor, who has joined us about 3 years ago and such a leader. And Robert Marshall. And last but not least, your buddy Norm Sherwood.
My buddy Norm.
Yeah, and then on bass, we have 7 bassists singing this concert. Height Reed and John McDaniel from Hickory. His father was in charge of the whole Lutheran church in that area of Catawba County for years. And Height Reed I mentioned, John McDaniel, Dennis Bell, Tim Boone, Lucas Duncan, so the 3 Duncan fellows in there, and Tony Rupert, and David Bigelow, who has come back to join us now that he's retired. And David's a very fine musician, but he can sing low notes with power. And that's what we needed, because in men's chorus, in a male chorus, there's quite a range, the upper tenor all the way down to the lower bass. First tenor, second tenor, baritone, and bass, and those low basses are, sometimes it's challenging to get down to low E's and D's, and David can sing them just at full voice, so it's wonderful. So it's a good group of guys. Not only are they great musicians, but they're fine people too. They serve their community. They have a lot of fun. We don't want to do it if it's not fun. We have great fellowship together.
And the men's chorus spring concert, tell us when that is.
Okay, it's Saturday evening, May the 10th, at Lenoir Presbyterian Church at 7:30. You don't have to buy a ticket, don't have to do anything ahead of time, just show up. But I'd say show up by 6:30 or 6:45 because it will start filling up very quickly. And usually the next day, we sing at the Presbyterian Church for their service. But it's Mother's Day, and I couldn't get our guys there for one thing. Another thing, they're doing a different kind of service. So we're going to be singing at the church on May the 5th. And I'm getting a tickle in my throat, Paige.
Okay.
Forgive me. But the spring pollen and allergies. But one of the pieces we're doing is a Mother's Day piece that I wrote the words for back in 2001 when I was directing music at the Episcopal Church here in town. Mm-hmm. And it actually was going to be included, it was on the fast track to be included in a new hymnal that was coming out, but that hymnal got thwarted, the idea got thwarted. So, but I didn't think there were enough songs to honor mothers. You have a lot of Father's Day music, so it's to the tune of Aurelia, which is the church's one foundation. It's public domain, but I wrote Mother's Day words for that. So we'll be singing that at Lenoir Presbyterian on May the 5th. So that usually we would conclude with our spring concert, which is usually by the end of April, but now we're to May 10th. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of my men are singing for Mr. Cogdell's tribute concert, which we'll talk. We will. I want to say one more thing.
One more thing about men.
And then I was going to say we're going to keep going through the summer because we're doing the thing at Grandfather Mountain and singing at Chapel of Rest this fall. So we're just pretty much going to continue through this year.
So no break.
Well, we'll take a little break, but not probably. We'll take most of July and most of August off.
Okay. All right. So are we ready to move to the concert honoring Mr. Cogdell?
If you want to, we can do
I'm
that
ready.
next.
Let's talk about that.
Don't blame me. Mr. Cogdell, William Claude Cogdell, he's originally from down east, was in Goldsboro, I know, for years. He went to, I think, Atlantic Christian College. He played against Roman Gabriel baseball in college. Roman Gabriel, who became a quarterback for,
right.
But he was a baseball player, catcher then. But he played at State. Mr. Cogdell played against him, and Mr. Cogdell knew, and his sister, I think, was a student of Andy Griffith before Andy went to Lost Colony, went on to other fame and fortune. And Mr. Cogdell came to Hudson High School in the early 70s or late 60s. I'm not exactly sure, but he was just in his 30s. But, you know, when I became a teenager and when I went to high school, that seemed old. He seemed old then, and it was so young now. When I was teaching school in Morganton, on the day of my birthday I was teaching, I turned 46, and one of my students was talking about people getting old. He didn't know it was my birthday. And I said, just how old do you think old is, like when you really get old? He said, had no idea of my age. He said, 45. Well, that was yesterday. Now I'm 46. But anyway, Mr. Cogdell is now 85. He taught at Hudson and South Caldwell for over 40 years. Was very legendary because he brought a program of consistent excellence and made superior ratings at contests for years, over 40 superior ratings. But I think the thing that really singled him out was his students, and I can attest to it, I was one of them, but I saw folks around me, they just worshiped and adored him. He just had some quality to him that they look up to and still honor him, and if you mention his name, his face lights up, and that's why so many people have been willing to come sing for him. He taught, I was supposed to go to advanced chorus my first year, and they don't usually do that, but me and this other guy, because they'd had a few tenors, every once in a while you have a dry time. But I had a science I had to take, so I couldn't do that, so we ended up going to beginning chorus. And I said all that to say this, I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot of rudimentary theory, musical theory, that I still use to this day. I still apply it and remember what he taught us. So it was very sound theory, it was very good quality music, and we had fun then, but we worked very hard. So he's started doing he was one of the original members, or very close to the original members of the men's chorus, and he conducted them for a while. And then he started doing a biennial every 2 years Messiah presentation, and we've done that for several years. And he may do it one more year, I'm not sure. But he sung with me in men's chorus, so it's interesting how the tables are turned there. And he sings for our Home for Christmas concert. But he's done things. He sings for churches, goes in to help people. He's very active in the community, still raises a full garden. He did have a stroke back around the time of COVID, not because of COVID, but he's recovered fully from that. He amazes me. He's much more energetic than I am, and he's at age 85. And we wanted to pay tribute to him while he was still living. Patsy Riddle, who I'm going to talk about quite a bit here, she was instrumental in bringing this concert together. Patsy had put together a group who paid tribute to Patsy Bost Holler, who was the retired choral teacher from High Brighton, but she had passed away, and they had a great honoring tribute concert to her, a memorial, but she wasn't there to enjoy it. And Greg Knight and I, when he was still with us, had talked years ago about doing something for Mr. Cogdell. But Patsy had come fresh off that other concert, and she came to me saying, we need to honor Mr. Cogdell. And it's really, her pushing to do this how it came up to fruition now. And I said, when all of us feel that we need to do it while he can still enjoy it. And we're even going to let him conduct a couple of numbers. He knows about it already because you can't.
Well, I started to say this is not the forum to be like, keep it secret.
No. Let it, because if there'll be something to try to keep it secret. No, I wasn't available that day. But the other people of the committee I should mention are his daughter, Caroline Simeon, Mr. Cogdell's daughter, who is the director at CVCC and Hickory, fine musician, and Sherry January, who I mentioned. We were having our first meeting about this concert, and it was right after we had an icy storm in January, and it was fine at 4 o'clock, but by the time we went out at 6:30, she slid and fell and broke her wrist. So she's suffering for her art. But Sherry January, who's a retired teacher at Hudson Middle School, and who is our accompanist for men's chorus, and plays music for a lot of the shows that I music direct at the Hub. But she's been out of commission for a while, but she may be playing some for this concert. She's definitely going to be involved. And then Marcia Marshall now, who is Robert Marshall's wife, and she and I went through Hudson together, and she still sings in my Christmas group and that sort of thing, and Robert sings in the men's chorus. And Robert's birthday is May 18th. Which is the day of the concert.
The day of the concert.
And then my birthday is the next day, May 19th. And Ken Twing, who will be singing for that, is May 21st. And we have like 6 or 7 singers who are right there in that little 10-day period of May. So it's a conglomeration. But we're not doing too much. They had to reel me in some because I had these elaborate plans to do probably 2 hours worth of music and to have a feast, which people may wish we still had that, but
I know our viewers are surprised by this, keep having elaborate plans.
Establish a library in his name, but Patsy convinced me, and she's absolutely right, to keep it simple. We're only doing about 8 pieces. It won't last more than an hour. We have light refreshments afterwards. The main thing is to pay tribute to him, and people can bring cards, and we'll take those up, and we'll have a couple people speak very briefly, no more than 2 or 3 minutes. And just 2 or 3. It's not going to be a thing where people can stand up and present because it'll get out of hand. But they can write all their thoughts on cards, and we'll present those to him. And we do want, this is not just a sing-along feel-good group. We want people to enjoy it. We want his former students to feel able to be involved if they wish. But you got to come to some rehearsal and do this. It's not just show up and sing, because he deserves better than that. So I will make sure that our music is polished. And Patsy's directing a number, and Sherry's directing a number, and Caroline's directing a number, and also singing some. And I'll be directing the other numbers. But we're looking forward to having a lot of singers, and they do come from men's chorus. And they come from my Home from Christmas choir, and they come from the Messiah choir that we've had for years, and other people in the community through the years who have sung with Mr. Cogdell, and primarily back to students. And I'm having green folders for people who were Hudson alumni, and burgundy folders for South Caldwell alumni. Everybody else has a black folder. But that's just a little distinguishing factor there. But again, we want you to feel able to be involved, and if you are a singer And I think most of you have been reached out to by now, but if for some reason you're interested in singing, contact me. Don't just show up, but we want to make sure. I had several people who would love to sing, but they have vocal problems now and can't sing anymore. You know, we're all getting older, that's the thing. But we want to include people, but really we can't take many more right now. I was telling you we're, I think, 49. I think we'll end up with about 52, 53, and I'm not sure. We're doing it at Poovey's Chapel Baptist Church in Hudson. They were very gracious to let us use their facility. Got a fine piano and a fine sanctuary, which will seat a lot, but we can, you know, we have to be able to fit our people up there to sing too. So it's a balance like everything else, but we still want a lot of musicians and to be well represented. As of right now, we have 15 basses, 15 altos, 12 sopranos and 8 tenors. So we're well represented. And these are strong singers too, not just anybody. So.
Can you give us a hint what's on the program?
Well, I can tell you some of the songs if you'd like to know. We're doing, at Patsy's request, we're doing a song called With a Voice of Singing, which we did a lot throughout high school. It's a staple for many people. We're doing Sooner Will Be Done, which was a spiritual that we did, and I've done many times since then. We're doing The Road Not Taken, which is the opening piece in Frostiana, the Robert Frost poetry. Randall Thompson, who wrote the Testament of Freedom, he did the music. It's 7 pieces, men and women's chorus, but this is, we're doing The Road Not Taken, which is the initial piece that most people would probably recognize more than any of the others. We're doing Jim Williams' Parting Blessing. We're doing both alma maters by Hudson and South, and allowing Mr. Cogdell to direct those so he can have some involvement. Caroline's going to do a solo. Our men's chorus, by Mr. Cogdell's request, is singing Homeward Bound.
Let's conclude with 2 concerts coming up. One is men's chorus.
Caldwell Men's Chorus, Saturday night, May the 10th, at 7:30 at Lenoir Presbyterian Church, who were so gracious to always sponsor us and host us, and great acoustics there. And then likewise, Poovey's Chapel is very gracious, Poovey's Chapel Baptist in Hudson, to have our concert and let us practice there for Mr. Cogdell, the tribute concert. And that's Sunday afternoon, May the 18th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Both are free and open to the public.
Keith, thank you for being here, and thank
Always
you
a
for
pleasure.
always coming and sharing what's happening in our community.
You know, I'll share my story one last time. I've told you this before, and then it's time to go. When I was walking in Broyhill Park years ago, and we were on Channel 10 then instead of Channel 190, and I think I told you, this guy came up to me, and he was about my age at that time, in his 50s or whatever, and he had a little notepad and a pencil in his pocket. And he said, to get out, he said, will you give me your autograph? I said, why would you want my autograph? He said, I see you on Channel 10 all the time. And I said, well, you know, this was my analogy. It was when Desperate Housewives was one of the most popular shows on TV. I said, they're desperate to have people come to talk about things. I'm desperate to go promote things. And when I'm acting on Desperate Housewives, I'll feel worthy to give you my autograph. But I went ahead and gave it to him. But I don't have any delusions or illusions or anything of grandeur about, you know, I'm glad we can do the things we do in the community. I feel very blessed, but it's a whole network of people, and just I'm very happy that you guys are so willing to cover us, and how much you do and stay late for me and everything, so it's great.
Well, thank you for what you do and for what you do for the arts in our community, because local art is so important to us.
It is.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Paige.
And thank you for watching Caldwell County Today.